Hello and welcome to Homo Politicos. Today on the program we would take a look at the 2025 budget defense. Well, the proposal right now at the National Assembly. Well, is this process so far about accountability, or is it a routine exercise we see every single budget cycle? Oh well, as Nigeria forges ahead in 2025, the National Assembly has resumed its plenary session. At the heart of deliberations is the defense of the 2025 budget proposal. Ministries, departments, as well as agencies of government have been appearing before lawmakers to justify their financial request and provide clarity on how public funds will be spent in 2025. But as the budget defense sessions unfold, critical questions have been posed. Are these sessions fostering accountability and transparency, or, as mentioned, are they just another box-ticking exercise? How does this process impact Nigeria's economy and the everyday lives of its citizens? Let's get talking about this and a lot more today on Homo Politicos. I'm joined by the program officer at Tracker. I'm talking about Joshua Oshiemi. Joshua, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate your joining the conversation.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
All right, let's get down to the focus today as we talk about this budget proposal and the defense process. How would you describe the significance of the budget defense process at the National Assembly in 2025?
All right, so basically, this process is very essential because it is expected that the MDs will have gone through a series of activities, from budget call circulars, from the subcommittees at the what's it called now, at the MDA levels, having to bring it to the MDA, taking it back to the budget office, taking it back to the presidency for accent, and before its eventual presentation to the National Assembly. So it's a whole lot of exercises that have gone into this, and some of the major functions of the NAS is that they have the powers of the purse, and what that means is that they have the power of appropriation, which is expected that they are going to be doing well. They have the power of budget approval and appropriation, so to say. And when it comes to them having to deal with these issues, it is expected that this is going to be done diligently, it's going to be done transparently, it's going to be done in a way to affect the national economy of the country, to ensure that the country is better off for it. But what you have had in the 2025 budget processes, from the time it got to the National Assembly, we have been having quite a number of issues about how are this defense going on and all of that. So it has to be as transparent as possible. It has to be as participatory as possible. You have to bring that part of the budget defense is actually where we can, as citizens, have input. Of course, it is expected that even before the call for circulars, budget circulars, citizens would have had their inputs in all of that, bringing in issues that is going to affect them, taking that to the necessary and the relevant agencies that could handle such. So now that it has gotten to this phase, Nigerians should be able to know what particular project is going to be affecting us, how is it going to be affecting our lives and livelihoods generally. And this is what everybody's talking about. So the public hearing is an essential part of what we have in budget defense and budget processes.
Yeah. Interesting that you've mentioned that in these past few weeks we've seen a few dramatic moments unfold at the floor of the National Assembly, well, more like with the joint committees meeting with ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We'll get to that in just a moment, but you mentioned something critical, which is the fact that this has to be participatory. Let's talk about the role of citizens in this entire process. Have we gotten to that point where the committees need to, the National Assembly committees now, I mean the joint committees, need to get the citizens to be part of the budget defense process? Have we gotten there? Are we going to get there? What's the procedure? And at what point will we get there?
All right. So because we practice democracy, which is a government for the people, by the people, so it is essential that the people are at the core of everything that governance has to be. You cannot tell me that you're representing me and I am in the dark of what you are doing on my behalf. It is not just right. The National Assembly, as part of their responsibilities and their duties, is representation. And by and large, they are representing all Nigerians. So whatever it is that they are doing at the National Assembly there must be as transparent as possible. They must give adequate feedbacks to the people they are representing. Now, back to your question about where we are. I cannot say we're there, and I cannot say we're not getting there. But I can just say that there's always a room for improvement in all of these practices. There's a need for people to be involved right from the inception, from the conception of the entire process. It is important that Nigerians, it is the needs of Nigerians that are actually being carried out as the budget of the country. What's the budget? What's the motive of the budget in itself? The budget is supposed to give the national outlook on how you want the country to fare in a particular fiscal year. And how is this achieved? It brings about stimulating economic stability, macroeconomic stability now. And, what does this mean? Bringing employment to the unemployed, reducing the level of poverty, extremely making sure that basic needs of the people are available to them. So if your budget's not addressing all of this, it calls for a lot of questions.
All right, Joshua.
I can categorically tell you that the involvement of the people is not enough as it stands, and we need to improve on that aspect.
All right. Do you think, from what you have seen this past few weeks, do you think that the ministries, represented mostly by the ministers, different departments in these ministries and agencies of government, do you think they generally have come prepared, to provide sufficient, adequate justification for their budgets?
Yeah, so they are professionals, so you expect that they are well equipped with all the information that they need to present at the National Assembly, except when we go to the, I think, police ministry now, Ministry of Police and all of that. And then we get to understand that this senator from Ebonyi State stood up and said he is not seeing what is it called now? The person that was defending the budget was reading.
Yeah.
So.
But he has clarified that, though. The Inspector General has clarified that Kayode Egbeto saying that he has submitted a document to the
you are not
committee
supposed to
chairman.
You're not. So let me just explain a little on that. Now, that place is not a place where you come for brevity. No, you come explicitly. Why are you saying you should come and give us an abridged version of the budget? No. Every line item is meant to be scrutinized, is meant to be looked into. What if there are some items that are in the budget that are not meant to be there? And then you'll be suffering some other items of the budget that are meant to be there. So these are the issues. You are not coming there to give us an abridged version of the budget.
But would you blame the one presenting
budget?
Joshua, would you blame the one presenting this or members of the National Assembly who should have gone through the document and properly scrutinized line for line, item for item, what needs to be scrutinized?
See, this is what it's signed for. There's no need for you to be hasty about anything. You are doing this on our behalf, and you must do it well. So if there's anything you must do at all, you must give in your 100% on it. That's what I believe. So if you are telling us that they should have studied this, of course, it's expected of them that they will have studied it, but nevertheless, it is still expected of the person who is coming to defend to pick all of these things line by line. Yes, that was what the senator was simply saying, and it was not even the only one that was saying it on that floor there. The person that was sitting beside him also corroborated and said the same thing. So, but that's not even it. That's not even where I'm going. So it's about how they have been able to justify. You will also discover that a lot of them are saying they don't have enough funds, they don't, the budget's not enough for them and all of that. Whose fault is that going to be? Did I make the budget for you? The cap that was given to you, how are you maximizing or optimizing it? So all of these things put together, I think we should subsequently work on to have a credible budget in the country. Yeah.
While we've heard from some who have been there to defend their budget, their request for 2025, we've heard too from the lawmakers, stating to the ministries and some departments and agencies of government that, this budget that you have presented is not enough. The monies or the allocations would not go far in helping you achieve your goals for 2025. Does that sound weird though? Because these committees, or rather these departments, these ministries present or prepare their budgets, as you've mentioned in your introductory comment, they submit this to the presidency, who through the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning put that together. And then you have lawmakers telling them, for your ministry, you should have more money rather than this meager money that you have, or this request that you are making. Does that sound weird? Does that sound shady to you?
No, it doesn't in any way. Only that in the Niger context, of course, it may be looking shady. The reality of the matter really is that some of the budget processes, so these people that have presented their budgets must have done their due diligence before coming to the floor of the National Assembly. Now, if the National Assembly is bringing it up to tell them that the sum that you have on this particular line item is not going to be enough, I don't know what the National Assembly is saying. Don't forget that the president has promised in his speech at the beginning of the year that the inflation is going to be brought from 34.6% to around 15%. So if you bring all of these macroeconomic factors into place, it is also possible that some of this will be achievable. But of course, you also understand the Nigerian NAS. The way they do their things, it is not new. We're just waiting to see what's going to be the outcome of this year's budget. 2021, they started more than 5,000 projects. 2022, they started more than 6,000. 2023, they started 7,447 projects in the budget after it has been presented to them by the presidency. So let's wait and see if they are not going to be using this as a caveat for them to be able to insert their projects into the budget. Meanwhile, most of these projects they are inserting into the budget, they lack conceptualization because they don't even have the wherewithal to know what it takes. They lack that. They lack adequate costing for these projects, and if you go by all of this, you will discover that it's also going to hamper on the credibility of the budget and the budget performance itself at the end of the day. All right.
As we begin to close here, Joshua, let's very quickly talk about the roles or the role that civil society needs to play, and indeed citizens as well. You belong to, if I may, the civil society organization called Tracker. You track projects, you track the progress of different government projects and how governments fulfill their promises to the Nigerian people. Well, what role can civil society play? What more can they do? What more can citizens do to be part of the process as well to ensure transparency and accountability in the budget, defense process and indeed the bigger picture? That's the budget passage and implementation.
So part of the core of what budget does is to ensure that the budget itself as a document that is meant to be well circulated to Nigerians is well understood by Nigerians. We have discovered that there's this deep-seated apathy in the country where people are not even interested in governance, and that is not right. So you must be interested in what is going to affect your life, how your monies and my money is going to be spent. Because the budget is just a summary of what I just explained. There are our monies that the government is spending on our behalf, and they put it together in a document that is called the budget. And you have to be interested in how this money is being spent. So the role that we play here is to ensure that we go to communities all around, try to ensure that we give them access to this budget. So we provide budget accessibility to them. That's one. We provide budget advocacy to them. Before now, we have gone to communities in 2024 to ensure that we garner some projects that are so germane to them, so that we can suggest these projects as prospective projects that can be inserted into the 2025 budget. We are waiting for the approved budget to be passed and see if some of these projects eventually pulls through. So basically, our work is very essential to ensure that the gap between the citizenry and the government is bridged. We add a connect between both of them to ensure that fiscal transparency and accountability is achieved in the country.
Yeah. Well, I was really talking about the entire community of civil society groups in the country. But yes, it's a fine one that you've used your civil society organization to represent the picture. All right, we need to go now, Joshua. As we go, if you had the attention of lawmakers in the country, whether at the local government, state or federal government level, what would you be telling them about the budget defense process? Well, for the federal, for many states, that has been passed already. I cannot say categorically if implementation has started, but for many states that's been passed, assented to by the state governors, and that we've gone past this. But for the federal, that right now is what's happening at the National Assembly, the defense process of budget proposal of 2025. But what if you had the attention of lawmakers across the country, what would you be saying to them in terms of what needs to be done, critically needs to be done, following due process and ensuring that lawmakers align with the will of the people in this budget proposal or budget defense process?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. The NAS has its specific duties as backed up by the Constitution of the country, which this course is also part of their constitutional duty, budget approval and appropriation. But whatever is worth doing, just like I mentioned earlier, must be done excellently well. My advice to them would be our budget must reflect developmental agenda of the country. It is very essential that we allow that to be. The insertions of projects here and there, I think that should stop. You stop influence, because if you do that, you also don't stop there. You still influence the procurement processes, and this is not good for the country. And the implication of this is that major projects that are meant to actually affect the lives and livelihood of Nigerians will not majorly see the light of the day eventually. For example, the usual budget for the NAS is always 100 billion every year. They have a caveat of 100 billion that they use for their constituency projects year in, year out. But you will discover that in this 2025 budget, it has been greatly increased, about 350% increase, to about 348 billion naira this year. And that's to tell you that, of course, you will say in naira term it has. In naira terms it has increased, but in dollar term it is still what it used to be, or even less. but we're not concerned. We are concerned about development. Let there be development in the country, for crying out loud. Support the anti-graft agencies in their fight against corruption in the country. It is very essential that you have their back, they get your backing to be able to fight corruption in these MDAs. Because most of the corruption cases that you have been perpetrated in the MDAs, but you will discover that you even have connivance with the National Assembly that is supposed to put them on check. So how do you now get the balance between what you're talking about? So it is essential that they perform their oversight function well. They also do well in terms of the appropriations powers that they have and the budget approval that they are doing. I wish us all the best. Yeah, thank you.
Well, Joshua Toshiemi is a program's officer tracker. Many thanks, Joshua, for being a part of the conversation on Homo Politicus today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
have a fantastic one. Well, Lagos. That's the conversation today on Homo Politicus. I will leave things there for you. And you heard Joshua there. Let's continue to track this process. Let's continue to hold government to account. Follow the budget defense process. Follow the budget implementation project when this is eventually passed as well. And ensure that the monies that persons you elected, whether they were your favorite candidate or not, those who occupy elective and appointed positions, the monies they've proposed and they've promised to use to, accomplish certain goals, projects across the country, ensure that you follow through and make sure that they do same. And where they don't, hold them to account. It's literally like holding them by the belt to say, you have not done this, you need to do this, you promised to do this. As a matter of fact, you put it down, pen and paper, to say, we're going to do this in 2025 and ensure that they do that. Well, until next time, Homo Politicus, make sure you're safe. Kingsley Bass is my name. Have a fantastic one, and bye for now.